Welcome to the Branding Room Only podcast, where we share career stories, strategies, and lessons learned on how industry leaders and influencers have built their personal brands. Now, let's get started with the show. Welcome to Branding Room Only, the podcast where we explore how to build a personal brand that stands out, speaks to your values, and helps you achieve your goals. I'm your host, Paula Edgar, and today's episode is a special one. In honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday on January 15th, we're reflecting on his life and legacy. Dr. King wasn't just a leader, he was a master of personal branding, long before we even called it that. Dr. King once said, "If you cannot fly, then run. If you cannot run, then walk. If you cannot walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward." This quote reminds us that progress, no matter how small, is key. In branding, as in life, consistency and persistence are everything. So today we're diving into 8 lessons from Dr. King's life that can help us build personal brands with purpose, authenticity, and hopefully impact. Every strong brand begins with a clarity of vision. And Dr. King's vision was crystal clear. He dreamed of a world of equality and justice, where people were judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. His famous words from the "I Have a Dream" speech, which was, "I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." They were more than poetic. They were his brand's mission statement. Think about your personal brand. What is your vision? What are the core values that guide you? For Dr. King, his brand was authored and anchored in nonviolence, justice, unwavering hope for a better future. Defining your values allows people to know who you are, what you stand for, and why they should align with you. So, exercise as always, take a moment to write down your personal mission statement. What is it you stand for, and how can that vision guide your actions, your career, and your goals? Secondly, Dr. King's ability to communicate was one of the most powerful elements of his brand. He once said, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter." He understood that words have the power to inspire, mobilize, and change the world. But it wasn't just what he said, it was how he said it. His speeches were filled with passion and conviction and authenticity. The "I Have a Dream" speech that he delivered at the March on Washington, during that speech, Dr. King didn't just deliver words. Think about it. He painted a picture. He spoke about his dream of a better future, and in doing so, he made millions of people believe in it too. His speeches were not just performances, they were acts of leadership. Take your brand. Thinking about your communication, whether it's a formal presentation, a social media post, or a one-on-one conversation, how you communicate matters. You should be speaking with clarity, with conviction, and alignment to your goals, because people connect deeply when they feel your passion and your authenticity. Speaking of authenticity, Dr. King's brand was built on integrity. He didn't just preach nonviolence, he lived it, even under extreme provocation. He said, "The time is always right to do what is right," and he modeled this principle, leading by example. During the Montgomery bus boycott, his home was bombed. Instead of retaliating, he addressed an angry crowd that had gathered outside, urging them to remain peaceful and stay committed to nonviolence. That moment really solidified his credibility and inspired countless others to follow his lead. And there were several moments like that in his life. Authenticity and integrity are the bedrock of any personal brand. People don't just listen to what you say, they watch what you do. So when your actions align with your values, you build trust, which is essential for a lasting personal brand. So here's a tip. Reflect on whether your daily actions align with the values you want to represent. Because again, consistency is what builds authenticity and strengthens your brand. Number 4, Dr. King was strategic when it came to visibility. Dr. King was deliberate about when and where he showed up. He understood that visibility was a tool to amplify his message. One of his most quoted lines is, "Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase." That reflects his belief in taking action even when the outcome was not guaranteed. For example, When Dr. King chose to march in Selma, Alabama, he knew it was one of the most dangerous places to protest. But he also knew that the images of peaceful protesters facing violence would force the nation to confront the brutality of segregation. Think about it. His presence in Selma wasn't accidental, it was very strategic. For your personal brand, ask yourself, where should you be visible? Where can you have the most impact? You don't need to be everywhere. You need to be in the right places and on the right platforms. Choose your moments of visibility wisely, just as Dr. King did. Dr. King also understood the power of visuals. He knew that moments captured in photographs or in film could tell a story as powerful as his words. And one of the most powerful and iconic images of the civil rights movement is Dr. King leading the Selma March, arm in arm with other leaders. Think about when you reflect on that image. It became a symbol of courage and unity. Dr. King had a quote that says, "We are not the makers of history. We are made by history." He knew that the imagery of the movement would define how it was remembered. So think about the visual elements of your brand. How do you present yourself? What story do your photos, videos, or even your attire tell about you? Visual consistency can help reinforce your brand and make it more memorable. So here's a tip. Curate your visual presence intentionally, whether it's a professional headshot, which you know I'm passionate about, your LinkedIn profile, or the way you show up at events, or even virtually on Zoom and other platforms. Make sure it aligns with the story you want to tell. Dr. King faced incredible challenges, yet he remained resilient. He once said, "We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope." This resilience was a defining feature of his personal brand. One powerful example of his resilience is the letter from the Birmingham jail. It was written after his arrest, and it was a response to criticism from fellow clergymen who called his actions untimely. Instead of giving up, he used that moment to articulate his philosophy and inspire others to continue the fight. So, what is the takeaway from this? Setbacks are inevitable, but resilience defines your brand. When challenges arise, and they do, how you respond shows the world who you are. Stay focused on your values and keep moving forward, even if, as Dr. King said, it's one small step at a time. The seventh point is that Dr. King unified and inspired community. Dr. King wasn't just a leader, he was a unifier. He said, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" His ability to bring people together across races, religions, and backgrounds was a hallmark of his leadership. Another story. During the March on Washington, Dr. King's leadership brought together over 250,000 people from all walks of life. When you think about the imagery of that event and think about how we reflect on it annually and sometimes more than that, that moment, which was historic, wasn't just about him. It was about the collective power of a unified community. So thinking about the takeaway for your brand, a strong personal brand isn't just about self-promotion. It's about how you inspire and serve others. So ask yourself, how is your brand creating value for your community or your network? How are you relationship building strategically to build your brand? Finally, Dr. King's personal brand was built with legacy in mind. He said, "I want to be the white man's brother, not his brother-in-law." His vision was for a future of true unity, not superficial connections. Dr. King's brand endures because it was never about short-term wins. It was about long-term impact. He worked to create a better world, not just for his generation, but for generations to come. Think about the legacy that you want to leave. What do you want people to remember about you? I think about this often. A lasting brand is one that makes a positive impact beyond your lifetime. Dr. King's life and legacy teach us profound lessons about leadership, resilience, and the power of a strong personal brand. What are they? Define your vision, live with integrity, communicate with purpose, and never stop moving forward. So as we celebrate his birthday, let's commit to building our own brands with the same courage, authenticity, and resilience. Because Dr. King showed us that what we stand for matters, how we communicate it matters, and how we live every day matters most of all. As you reflect on his wisdom, think about how these lessons can guide your own journey of growth and impact. Lastly, as we commemorate MLK Day annually as a country, I'll leave you with something that I say every day in my LinkedIn post. May the quote that you share on MLK Day align with your actions the other 364 days of the year. Dr. King's legacy wasn't just about his words. It was about his unwavering commitment to living those words every single day. Let's honor him not just with quotes, but with action. And we need action more than ever now. As always, everybody, thank you for spending this time with me in Branding Room Only. If today's episode inspired you, please, please, please share it with someone who might benefit from these reflections. And don't forget to follow and connect with me for more insights on building a brand that lasts. Until next time, remember, as Dr. King said, whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. Talk to you all soon. And remember, everybody, stand by your brand.